afternoon. So you probably all know the SDG number 17. It's hidden there. Actually, it's one of my favorite, and I would have put it on the top because I believe that this SDG 17, which talks about partnership for the goals, is really the one that helps to accelerate realization of a number of goals. We talked about circular economy. You don't get circular economy without partnership on the value chain. And smart cities is another example of how partnership help to accelerate towards the goals. So I'm going to share with you today the example of how this systemic approach helped to build the smart cities. Let me first start with, Let me first start by explaining who we are at SIG, Services Industriels de Genève, Industrial Services of Geneva. First, we provide for the canton Geneva all the essential services, water, waste management, and of course, energy. And in the Smart City organization, we help to realize the project that help to grow, to innovate, so that we provide those essential services. But as well, we provide additional services like telecommunication, like electric mobility, like smart lighting, and a few others. But then the next part of it is how we can integrate those services and playing with the local players and partners so that we go further into the ecological transition. Because at Services Industriels de Genève, we're really driven by accelerating the energy transition and actually the whole ecological transition. So what is a smart city? There are so many definitions of smart cities, and actually it has evolved a lot over the last few years. So here I've put a definition from the National Office of Energy in Switzerland. So a smart city is a city capable of offering its residents a high quality of life with minimal resources consumption, thanks to an intelligent combination of infrastructure and technological innovation. And in our smart city organization, we want to put the citizen at the center of this smart city, right? That's what you would expect, even though it's maybe not always the case. So we are conducting a few hackathons with some local partners, again, like Open Geneva. And we do those hackathons to really understand what the population is looking for in terms of smart cities. And the last 2 years, when I've been in this position, we've heard only about the link between nature and human, the link between human themselves, and how the human and the consumer and the citizen can become actor of their future. So we've decided to have 3 pillars for our smart city. The first one is offering more well-being, and we are very involved into biodiversity projects, for example. More sustainable, so we believe that we have to drive less energy consumption. So the best energy, as we used to say, is the one we don't consume. So less energy consumption, and we have a number of projects to help for that. For example, we have Eco 21, which is a project that has been there for a number of years. And over the last 12 years or so, we've helped reduce the CO2 emission of the equivalent of 26 months of the whole automotive emissions in the canton Geneva. Okay, so we're really focused on energy efficiency. But we already as well trying to have the best energy, so consume less, but consume better energy. And here we have a number of programs going on, whether it's for solar energy, whether it's for thermal energy coming from renewable energy. Today, thermal energy is using 90% fossil fuel energy, and we have an intention by 2030 to drive that to 80% renewable energy. So very dedicated to a more sustainable energy. And then more involving, like I said, because we want to put the citizen at the core of what we do in terms of smart city. So we have this hackathon going on, we have participative projects for renewable energies. So the smart city, I had an introduction from David, thank you David. So it's at the intersection of digital transformation, and David has talked about the huge potential of digital. I think we all agree about that. Of course, we have to be careful about how we use these digital tools, and about 4% of the total emission is due to digitalization. So we have to be very responsible with how we use digital tools. And that's one part. The other part is the energy transition. Energy transition, more use for electricity, We see it in the cars, we see it in the heating. New producers, yourselves maybe are producing on your roof. And a shift towards renewable energies that create different challenges in terms of how we manage energy. So the smart city is really at the intersection of these two transitions and looking to use the digital tools as a tool, a lever, so it's not an end, it's a mean towards accelerating an energy transition. So we have a number of standalone, like I like to call it, solutions that help to reduce the noise, help to reduce the light, help to reduce the traffic, and those are solutions you can see everywhere and not just us. I mean, we have a number of these standalone solutions going on. I'm seeing the time, so now I have to speed up. In parallel to that, we see this whole paradigm shift. So I talked about the digital transition, I talked about the energy transition, and this creates a whole shift into business model. And we talked as well about the need for systemic approaches. And I like this example of Tesla because this company has moved from being a car producer to going into mobility, to being an energy provider, and soon probably managing data. Okay, so you can see how this systemic approach is becoming part of the business model and how we will do business tomorrow. So likewise, when you think about smart city, the smart city approach has an opportunity to increase the impact, so impact towards the ecological transition, by having systemic approach. And our systemic approach happens on 3 levels. The first one is collaborating with all the stakeholders. So you can see here the stakeholders of our smart city, and of course we have universities. We work quite a lot with all the universities, including E4S, of course, and the member of E4S. The ecosystem considers as well the environmental strats of the organization, so from a building to the district, to the territory, to the whole territory, and then of course the life cycle of all these things. So if you think about systemic approach, and we said earlier it's very difficult to go from the concept of systemic approach to how do we do it in action. So, and it was mentioned earlier, circular economy, we all know it makes sense because you don't want to stay with this linear model, but why is it that we don't do it? And I wanted to share with you 3 examples of how we do this systemic approach in the area of smart cities, so that hopefully it helps to realize that it's not so difficult. We need the tools, but there are things going on in that space. So the first example is the use of geoinformation. Geoinformation, we've seen some example in the startup. It's quite a topic these days. So for us, it's a big opportunity. First, we move from pure data, just one-dimension data, to a position, so 2-dimension data, and we're moving to 3-dimension data. And when you think about all this platform where you put all this 3-dimension data and all sorts of data, you can think about air, weather, you can think about traffic, you can think about whatever data. It's just amazing and even frightening, actually, all the data that is available. That brings some opportunities for better coordination between the different systems. So I have 3 examples here. The first one, in SIG, so we deploy the thermal energy. So we have 250 kilometers of thermal networks to put under the ground in the canton of Geneva. So you can imagine it's quite a challenge. But to do this, we have to really understand where are the buildings we want to bring, where is the energy coming from, where it's going to be used. And one of the things that we care a lot about is where do we want to put the network so that we don't destroy the trees, for example. So how we can ensure that we keep the vegetalization while we put these 250 kilometers of networks under the ground. Okay, so this geoinformation obviously is a great tool to do that. Another example, we talked about mobility quite a bit. Mobility, if you think about having data about not only what kind of mobility device are available, but as well artificial intelligence, artificial intelligence. So you can really start to say, okay, because of the weather, you can plan that this is going to be so much traffic there, or it's going to be so many people going to the parking at the P+R, and then I'm not going to be able to park my car to take the train. So if you put all this information together, you can really have a very powerful mobility strategy. Okay, and when you have a mobility strategy, then you and me, we have no excuse to take the car after that, or at least the thermal car. I'll move on to the second example. The second example here is internal to the Services Industriels de Genève, where we really look at integrating our energy system so that not only you have a site on its own, but a site is providing heat for another site. So we're looking at the whole system as a system within our own organization. So for example, when we treat waste or we treat water, we have this heat that we use for our thermal energy. So remember we said we want to deploy this thermal energy 80% based on renewable energy. So using the heat for the thermal energy system, and using as well, for example, the remaining of the sludge or the clinker from those processes to be used either to produce cement when it comes to sludges, or to produce, to extract materials when it comes to the clinker of the waste. Okay, so it's a bit technical, but what I want to say here is that we really look at our sites as a system and how we can optimize each of the parts so that it serves the other part. Same for the energy storage. And the last example is one that we are piloting at this point. It's kind of the same, looking at using energy management system to optimize the energy efficiency, so how much energy we use at a district level, but probably as importantly as this, how we can integrate renewable energy into that mix and make sure that we use the renewable energy as much as we can. So how we make sure that we use which device when, based on when the renewable energy, especially from the sun, is being produced, okay? And how it can be stored maybe in the battery of your car. So managing the whole energy system at the district level is something we're working on as well, and that's typically a systemic approach as well. So, and like I said, it's only the beginning. We've seen a few examples of what's coming: energy as a service, mobility as a service, and so on. So I'd like to conclude with this because, like I said at the beginning, I really believe that through collaboration, through partnership, we can go further. And I think this is what it illustrates here. If you look at this famous mountain that some of you probably recognize, to go to the top, it's very difficult. And the challenge in front of us is very huge, right? But it's only if we get into action, if we start moving, and if we go together on that mountain, that we'll be probably able to reach the top. So thank you. Time for question, or I've made all the time.
We could do one or two quick questions. Sorry. All right, here we go. A couple quick questions that are coming in. So first one, with smart cities, what about dynamic pricing? Is that an option? So when it comes to mobility, energy, is there a way to integrate that?
Yeah, that's probably it's a very good question because it's part of the economic model of this whole thing. So yes, we'll definitely have to integrate the prices into the mix. It's true that today renewable energy are not the most economical solution, but if you really look at the energy savings, for example, your total economical impact can become positive. So it's very important that we look at this total economical impact as well, because only like this you can be sustainable. So only a solution that can be economically viable can be sustainable. We talked about this, right? So including the economic part of it is essential to the economic model, yeah, definitely.
When it comes to smart cities, you talked and you gave examples, but is there a specific smart city that you personally go, they're getting it right?
Geneva.
Is that your real answer?
Geneva? Yeah, I think we're doing good.
Yeah?
But I think in a few years' time we'll do even better.
Nice.
So, then there are great examples in the north of Europe. They are quite ahead, but yeah.
So the connected question with that is, what kind of learnings, experiments are you doing with other smart cities? How much information sharing is there?
So we certainly, we do some some technological, we're looking into what others are doing, benchmarking, yeah. Of course, we should be doing more, that's for sure. We have a collaboration going on, so I forgot to mention in the illustration that I shared, we work with universities, we work with startups, we work with a number of partners, and universities, they help us to really understand as well better this benchmarking. So yes, we do some, and yes, we could do more, but yeah, we do it.
Final question. Dear Clara, is there a similarity between your daily yoga practice and your engagement at SIG? No, it's from Andreas. It's not my question. So,
is
any
there
connection between the two?
Yeah. My engagement with SIG is to go back to local solution, to move into action, and to get things moving towards a sustainable world. And I think yoga is going in the same direction. Yoga is connecting us back to the earth, not forgetting that the earth is below and it's what's carrying us. And connecting the brain and the physical and the earth, I think, is a connection with this, yeah.
And on that note, let's give it up for Clara.